Hey, guys, it is Alison. I am the host of your show, Alison Answers Mission Awake. I cannot wait to sit down with you today and go over how we are going to crush the mediocrity in your life that has been plaguing our society since the beginning of time. I cannot wait to have a real deal conversation that includes intelligence, fun, excitement, and real actionable steps to make a real difference in the life that you're living now and making it into something you can be damn proud of and excited to live. Sit down, put on your damn seatbelt, and get ready for the ride of your life. Hey guys, how are you today? It is Alison from Alison Answers, and today is a solo podcast. What we will be talking about today is 3 surefire ways to destroy your relationship with your significant other. 1 is jump to conclusions. Number 2 is never, ever, ever take ownership for what you think, you feel, what you say, and how you act. Then blame people, places, and things, and be defensive over what you are experiencing. Then the surefire way to destroy it as well is to make your happiness dependent upon the other person. So what we're going to talk about today is really actually cool. And it is something that will, without any doubt, change your life. These are things that have taken me a very, very long time to learn as a therapist, as a person living life and being in relationships, and as a marriage counselor. These are things that are surefire ways to destroy your relationship, but I'm going to tell you the alternative. I wish forever ago in my 20s or early on in my life, someone took the time to go over this kind of way of changing your entire life. Because wouldn't you agree that bottom line is that having a bad relationship is one of the surest ways to ruin your life? And I definitely think that's true. I think that having a fantastic relationship with someone that you can really talk to, that you're not focused on right or wrong, that you're not jumping to conclusions, that you're not being defensive, that you're not in a crisis mode all the time, that you're not always looking to them for happiness, or they're not looking to you for for their happiness. There's something magical that can happen. Relationships are designed, they're meant to kick up our stuff and to illuminate what's happening inside of us so that we can grow and expand and become better as human beings. They're designed to cause friction. Iron sharpens man, so shall man sharpen man. And what ends up happening is that the friction is something that will show us our blind spots. It will show us the parts of ourselves that we need to upgrade, that we need to change. If we can understand that our relationship is here for us, and I'm not talking about people who are in abusive relationships or in relationships where they've been taken hostage. Dysfunctional people do not get into relationships, they take hostages. So I'm not talking about that. What we want to talk about today, bottom line is that what are some really practical tips? And these work. I promise you that they work. So what you're going to learn today, what we're going to talk about today, is some basics. And the basics are, instead of jumping to conclusions, if you think about what is jumping to conclusions, it's kind of like you have an experience with that person. And then after you have that experience, you are immediately sure, you've concluded that the reason that the person did the thing, why they said the thing, why they didn't do the thing, and you're determined to insist that you know what the conclusion is, you know why they did it, you know what they're thinking, and you know what their intent is, without ever even considering asking them if your perspective is real. One of the greatest antidotes to jumping to conclusions is to take a moment to stop, to breathe. Instead of jumping to conclusions, you say, let me explain what is happening inside of me. So always, what I always tell everyone in every circumstance, before you do any reacting, you always stop, because a state of reaction means that you're operating out of an external locus of control. And what that means is that people, places, and things, circumstances, events, the things around you, outside of you, are the determining factor of what you're going to do next. So people who are in a state of reaction are living dependent on the way other people, places, and things are being around them. So they do not have any sense of internal control over their life. It's all external. So they have to control outside people, places, and things. They have to stop it. They have to fight it. They have to do something about it. They have to explain it. They have to manipulate it in order to find an internal sense of peace. Wouldn't you say that it is about time that human beings stop tinkering outside and trying to fix things externally in order to resolve an internal problem? Every single situation in our life has to do with us. Anything, Allison, anything in my world belongs to me. And that is our next disastrous thing that we were just saying that will destroy a relationship, is never take ownership. Never take ownership of what you think, of what you feel, of how you act. Be defensive about it and blame people, places, and things for what is happening with you. You don't own your feelings. So if somebody does something outside of me, it could be really a really bad thing too. I'm not saying that people don't do bad things and people don't hurt us. They do. But the first stop never, ever, ever should be that person, place, or thing. The first stop always is us, because we're having an emotional experience inside. We're having thoughts. So they could be the conclusions that we're drawing. We're having a whole internal experience based on our interpretation, our reaction to this external event. So what needs to happen is, and this is what I teach people over and over again, you stop, you breathe, and you say to yourself, what is it about this situation that is causing so much distress inside of me? What is it about it? Now, a lot of people would say to me, well, of course I'm going to be distressed. They just whatever, ran over my foot. They just cheated on me. They just did this. They just did that. I am not in any way negating the shit that other people do, but it's not the first stop. Because if that's the first stop, what you're doing is you're going into that first stop, no matter what it is, and you're going into it in crisis mode, in an emotional state that you do not yet understand, and you have not cleared out the baggage that you have inside that is interpreting things one way or another. So the first thing you want to know is, what is it about this situation that feels so big to me? I ask myself that 1,000 questions a day. So it's like, what is it about that that makes me feel jealous? What is it about that that makes me feel insecure? What is it about that that makes me feel like I want to rip that person's head off? What is it about that that I feel defensive? Because I always find the answer inside of me. Oh, it's because, you know what? I feel less than that person. Oh, it's because, you know what? I feel like if they did that to me, that means they don't love me. Or I feel like that when I look at him and he walks in the door with that face on, my perspective is that he's angry at me. And if he's angry at me, I feel guilty. I feel like I've done something wrong. Do you hear all those different things that can come up? Or let's say somebody really did something really horrible to you. Then, okay, what is it about this situation? So let's say it's like, we're talking about relationships. This is your spouse, like they cheated on you something, or really, really bad, with the neighbor or the best friend or whatever. What you do in that moment, yeah, clearly it's a problem. But the first thing is to say, what is it about what has just happened that is destroying me? Now, the obvious thing is, oh my God, this this means my relationship is over, or, oh my God, this means that I'm not good enough, or, oh my God, this means that you want to ask the questions, what is it about? What is it triggering up in me so I can understand it? Because you want to have a good understanding before you face a situation, before you address a situation, before you go into anything. Clarity is king. Clarity is king. Being aware of what we feel inside will be a surefire way of being able to manage what's ours and being able to address and set limits, or say, I can live with this and I can't live with that. But if we bring all of our childhood stuff in and like, oh, it's because, and insecurity and, or, desperation, we're going to mess up the clear thinking that needs to happen in order to resolve something that really hurts. So what I want you to do is to consider, when you're jumping to a conclusion, when you're not taking ownership, you want to ask first, how can I live my life with an internal locus of control? That means I am going to always take responsibility for what's happening inside of me first. And I'm not going to live a life of rush, crisis. Let me fix this quickly. I'm going to react. I'm going to have a knee-jerk reaction because you suck and blah, blah, blah. Because I can guarantee to you, this is a relationship ruiner, and it's not good for you no matter what. You can always handle a situation, and it doesn't have to be immediate. And if you can practice doing that, it will definitely change your life. So the thing about this is, instead of looking, I tell the story about the guy, I've said it on things, but I'm going to repeat it here. There was a person who lost their keys inside of their house. They were on their couch and they dropped their keys inside of their house, and there was a blackout. So their whole house was blacked out and there was no light. So this person is looking all in their house for these keys everywhere. They go, then they see the light outside, and they walk outside and they start looking in the street because the street lights are on. They start looking for their keys out in the street. What happens is the neighbor comes over and says, hey, buddy, what are you looking for? I'm looking for my keys. And, oh, I'll help you. And then the neighbor in a few minutes says, where did you last see them? Where did you lose them? Where do you think they were? And the person says, well, I dropped them in my living room. And the neighbor says, well, how come you're looking out here? And the person says, because there's light out here. And this is a very odd and nonsensical way to explain how ridiculous it is, how we do not deal with what's inside here because it's in the dark, because it's unseen, because we don't understand it. So we go outside to deal with what's the problem is outside here without resolving and going inside and taking a look, even though it feels dark. The next thing I want to just throw out to you is this third thing, is that our happiness is dependent upon, we're happiness dependent instead of happiness independent. Now, certainly people in our lives bring happiness to us and they add value, and we experience life with them and have joy with them. But if this is foundationally the only way that we experience happiness, if the only way that I experience happiness is dependent upon you, I'm in big trouble, and so are you. Because basically, if I have a mood swing, it's your fault. If I don't feel good, you have to resolve that for me. That also is about looking inward and knowing ourselves and saying, I am taking responsibility. I'm taking ownership of my own life. It is my responsibility to create a happy life. It is my responsibility, instead of looking to your person to make you feel better or to sustain your happiness, right? Because happiness is a daily decision. It's, every day that I wake up, I say to myself, my first thing is I say, I get to choose how I feel today. And today, guess what? I choose joy. I choose enthusiasm. And you know what? I'm going to make this the best day of my life. So we have to understand that if you're looking for ways to find happiness that come only from external things, and I want to just, I hate to tell you this secret, but the majority of the world, the majority of human beings are looking for their happiness outside of themselves because they do not know that they have the power within to create that. Everything, we have so much more power than we're aware of, and I'm here to tell you about it. That's what this whole podcast is about. That we have so much inside of us that honestly has been kept from us. That the way we think, the way we feel, the way we program our body, we get to decide how that is. Alvin Toffler, one of my favorite quotes, he says, the illiterate of the 21st century will not be people who cannot read or write. It will be people who cannot learn, unlearn, and learn again. And that's what we need to do. We, from the time we were 0 to 7 years old, we've been programmed, and we've been programmed with 1.5 quadrillion synaptic connections at least of connections and meaning that's been attached to experiences and little nuances that we have had from the time we were a little baby until 7 years old and beyond. And there's continued programming. During that period of time, our brain is in a theta brainwave, which is a hypnotic state. That hypnotic state is a suggestible state. It's a necessary state in order for a child to learn all the incredible things that we learn, to speak, to walk, and to create a program that's going to help us to live and survive on this earth. The problem with that is that peppered within all of those wonderful things that we're learning, we are also learning a lot of shit that hurts us later on. So the value in leaving the historical home and cleaving to your husband or wife or the people in your life as an adult and creating a new program, unlearning what we've learned. First, the only way to unlearn anything is to see it. And the only way to see it is to look. And the only way, once you look, is you want to ask yourself questions. So instead of looking for that person to create your well-being, it's a very important thing to understand is that we can swim in the stream of well-being if we decide to. This, the thing about if we find our own happiness and we find the ways in which we will maintain this lifestyle of joy, and believe me, we're going to have mood swings. It's a repeated thing, just like you brush your teeth every day. You create your happiness every day. Fact. This is it. Find the stream of well-being as a lifestyle. Do your backstroke, hang out in the stream of well-being. This will attract more good things to you than you could ever imagine. Who are you attracted to? Are you attracted to the happy person, the confident person? The person has other options. The best negotiator is a person who has other options. They have other choices. That means if you can't make me happy today, which you shouldn't be the only source, I am confident in myself and the way in which I will obtain joy and happiness for myself, even though I want to enjoy it with you. I have options for creating joy. And once you have that, people feel drawn to you because it is an incredibly attractive thing to be a joyful person. And you will attract more joy because like begets like. It is just factual that good things bring good things to us. Yes? So once your foundation is full, you can ask for certain things from your spouse or your loved one. You can say, hey, let's go have this fun experience. They can say no. You can say, hey, you can ask for attention. I have no problem asking for attention. I used to say to my late husband, I'd be like, I don't need attention, but I want it. And I love it. And there's nothing wrong with it. And I have no problem giving it because you know what? If the person is not desperate for it and it's their source of value, then it's just like kind of icing on a cake. It's like you look at the person and you see what you value in them and you just tell them. In a relationship, having that freedom to communicate this valuable thing will change everything about your relationship. When you're not desperate for attention, like, oh God, there he is again, watching that damn TV. How about He's watching the TV and he's focused on that because that's the way his brain works. He's not seeing 5 things at once, because the way a man's brain is that if somebody breaks into that damn house, you bet your ass that guy's the one who's not going to focus on one other thing but killing that sucker that just walked in. And you're the person, because of the way your brain is, if you're a woman, I understand that I'm also speaking to men, but I want men to understand that there's a value that's happening with men that women are not aware of consciously. Maybe now you will be, because this would be something I would think about. A lot of women are like bitching and complaining, like, oh, I got so much to do, blah, blah. You know what? When we go to bed at night, when you lay down, if somebody ever, God forbid, broke into your house, guess whose responsibility that is? Who's going to keep your family alive? Who's going to fight to the death for your life? And you know what? If you have a man who's doing that, be grateful for it, because that is something that we can sleep knowing that they're there doing that. I happen to know that. I believe in that. I believe there's a value in understanding that. And it's a value in understanding that a man's brain is designed to be able to do that, so they could fight off things, while a woman would notice a baby crying in the corner that might be getting hurt while this fight is going on. She'd be seeing it all, because her brain can move back and forth between different hemispheres. What will happen is she is able to see the baby when this crisis is happening. He can't. But a lot of women will criticize a man for not you being able to hear them when they're watching a television show or they're watching football. But really the truth is thank God they do that. Thank God they're not blown about by every wind. So put that in your pipe and smoke it, people. Okay, I went off track. Over the river, through the woods, that's fine, because it's valuable what we're talking about. The next thing I want to say is that once you have this foundation not completely filled, because it's never like I have mood swings. Oh my God. And I'm like, shit, I got to get my happiness back again. Oh my God, I just went around the corner. How did I have another mood swing? Damn. It's like, sometimes it's work to be happy, but it's worth it, and even if you just know that your happiness is your own responsibility, and you need your spouse to be like, I need you to give me happiness today because I don't want the responsibility, and you can be a baby and say it, that's an open conversation. It's still owning your stuff. It's like saying, you know what, I know it's my responsibility, but right now, I don't know. I just need you to make me happy. You want that kind of back and forth experience with one another, right? So listen, the main thing is you may not understand or be in practice of doing all this stuff, but what we practice, we get good at. So if you practice, being reactive, you're going to get good at being reactive and blaming and being defensive. If you practice understanding that we're not going to focus on who's right, who's wrong, who's the one to blame here, we're going to focus on understanding, harmony, creating a relationship that we're both happy in. And my next podcast, I'm going to be talking about 3 other destructive things that really can destroy a relationship and the solution to them. Those things, that I'd like you to tune in for are being focused on winning and who's right and who's wrong. That is a surefire destructive thing that you can guarantee to destroy your relationship with that, or at least be very unhappy in the relationship. Another thing that is guaranteed to destroy your relationship is being unaware of your programming, your childhood history, your family dynamics that you came out of. I don't care how old you are. If we all have a family system that has unspoken, unwritten rules that we don't even know consciously, if we're not aware of them, we will play them out in our marriage, and it has the power to destroy it because you're fighting for your family rules that are not your rules. So that's the second one. Think about one other thing that you believe could really, really, really destroy a relationship. I've touched on it because all of these things kind of fill together and they work together as a destructive force. But such a key thing is, and I did this a very long time ago, it was the best thing I ever did. I took the words right and wrong out of my vocabulary. And the way that I decided to do that, and I was not going to think about a situation that was difficult for me. I was going to think about the situation as the conflict, as the thing that we were going to together work on. So we are going to talk about in the next podcast that I do, the solo one on destructive relationship patterns and their alternative. With that, one of the things I did in marriage counseling is I would tell them, I'd give them a pillow and I'd put it in between them and I'd say, that's your conflict and you're fighting over it. You're each debating over that conflict. And then I would say, I'd like to put you both on the same side of that conflict. And then I'd put the pillow, I'd have them sit next to one another and put the pillow in front of both of them and say, now, this is something that together you're going to resolve and work on, with the goal being understanding connection and harmony, not right or wrong. So we're gonna go deeper into that conversation next time. But I want to thank you guys for being here. Remember, do not jump to conclusions. You're not always right. Ask the right questions, because if you jump to a conclusion, I'm going to throw in this thing. I didn't say a couple of things to you. So when you jump to a conclusion, if you believe that you're right, you believe that you know what the other person thinks and feels, instead of doing that, I didn't say this to you guys, explain that you are having an extreme thought or feeling. So if I felt something around my late husband, one of the things I would do is I would say, hey, you know what? Instead of saying, you know, I know you're mad at me. I know you did this. I know this. I'd say, you know what? I'm feeling these like really strong thoughts and feelings. And believe me, I am not saying that they are accurate. So I would begin a conversation all the time. And so would he, like, listen, I'm not saying I'm right, because I just got to get this, stay current with my feeling. So I'd say, you know what, I just feel this thing, like, you know, could you just tell me if it's true? So like I use the example of, you know, someone walking in, this didn't happen with us, but let's say, you know, your spouse walks in and they have a look on their face and you immediately conclude that they're judging you, that they're angry or whatever your conclusion is. Instead of then operating from that place that you believe, you know, well, I know they're mad at me. Oh, I know they're just a bitch, you know. Instead of doing that, you say, hey, wait a minute, let me talk to them. Hey, you know what? When you came in, I just felt so weird and guilty. And I was just feeling like, I was just having this feeling, and I'm not saying it's right. I was thinking like maybe you're mad at me, or maybe you're thinking negative thoughts about me. And believe me, I understand that that could be in my cray head, but I want to bring it out in the light so I don't operate from that place. And then, you know, do you feel mad at me? Would be the question I would ask. Or do you, you know, are you thinking negative things about me? Instead of saying, you know, what's wrong with you? Oh, what, you don't, I didn't make dinner, or whatever the hell you would, you know, the things that people could say. And then you give them the opportunity to say, oh no, you know what? I walked in, I just had a hard day and I'm so distracted. I have a headache. You say, oh, and you know what you do at that moment? You believe them. You don't say, oh yeah, sure. Right. Well, you always work so hard. You know, we got to really, really think. A groundbreaking principle is, if you want a good relationship, practice understanding the other person. Practice your own happiness. Practice living in an internal locus of control where you're in charge of your thoughts, feelings, actions, behaviors before you go and talk to, do anything, jump, scream, I don't know, heavy breathe about any other person. Because if you do that, and you choose happiness for yourself, and you choose all of those things, I can't even tell you the kind of relationship you could have. Now, that could also illuminate that you have a shitty relationship and you're like, wow, you know, this is not something that I really want to live with. And you can also make the decision that this is not going to work. But what I can say to you is, if you do these things for you and you create an internal culture that is harmonious, understanding, loving, direct. I'm not saying you should let somebody step on you. I don't let anybody step on me. But being direct and clear and kind, you don't have to ever let anybody step on you. If you have a strong core base, inside and you feel confident within you, and you know you're going to take care of yourself, you know you're going to make sure that you love you, that you create your happiness, all of that stuff, and you feel foundationally good, even though you never want to lose your person, you can be strong on the inside and very, very soft on the outside. One of the mistakes that human beings make is that they want to protect a very, very soft and scared and frightened inside, and they build this very hard exterior, which leaves that inside alone, scared, rejected, because no one can really get in there, and neither do you. So that is my greatest suggestion for you. Consider all of these things, and I pray you have the best day ever. And listen, guys, I want to suggest and ask that if you could support, I had written a book. It's a best-selling book from Amazon, and it's called The Wake Up Call. And it has a lot of my principles in it. And the proceeds from this book, any kind of a profit for this book, goes to stopping sex trafficking. It's going to, I'm going to show in my notes also, in my notes will show the charity that I give to. And it's people who go in and rescue kids who've been trafficked and who are being sexually abused. That is my passion. I want to help as many of those people as I can. If I could go in and do it myself, I would. And believe me, if I knew how to do it, I would probably go in there like a ninja and get killed myself. But anyhow, my point is that that is a passion of mine. I ask that. I think the book would be very, very helpful for you. If you're interested, I would also ask that you like, subscribe. If you go to YouTube, if you're listening, all of my podcasts are on YouTube. It would really, really mean a lot to me if you would subscribe, because I don't pay a lot of attention to YouTube, but it's all on there. And if I could get you guys to subscribe to my YouTube channel, it would help me to do a whole bunch of other things that I need to do in order to spread this word. Really, just so you understand, I do not get any money from my podcasts. I do not get any money from my book. I do not get, my promotion of this stuff is genuinely to make a difference on this earth, because I believe that if you have a purpose, if you know that if you add value as much as you can to as many people as you cannot help but being blessed yourself. I do not do it for that reason. The blessing for me is that to watch lives actually transform, to see a marriage that's going to be destroyed because of these little things that we've never learned, because of very small little things that we've never been taught. To me, it is unheard of. I want to scream it from the rooftops. That's why it's called the wake-up call. All the core beliefs that are running our life and destroying our life. There's these core beliefs that are ruining our entire life, and nobody even knows it. Not nobody. Many people do not know that with some little shifts in thoughts, in feelings, in decisions, in what we believe, and understanding our programming, we have the opportunity to change our entire life. This book, The Wake Up Call, it's written by me. It has stories about really, really, really traumatic things that have happened in my life, but the way in which they have created these core beliefs, and then how the process, I give a very tactical guide with in the book. It also has a workbook where you can write answers to questions that I'm actually asking you to look at your entire life and take a snapshot of your life, financially, emotionally, spiritually, relationally, socially, vocationally, and how you have fun. If you look at those areas of your life and you look at that snapshot of your life as it is right now, what's in my bank account? How much debt do I have? What's the patterns in my relationship? When I look at that directly, and then I reverse engineer it and I say, what are the thoughts that are contributing to this outcome? There is what those snapshots do. They tell us exactly what our belief system is. We don't have to search that hard. If we're in debt, we probably have a belief system about money that is destroying us, that has something to do with guilt and that we always owe something. Okay. What if we are in bad relationship patterns? Do you believe that you're worthy of the kind of person that you want in your life? You can discover every belief system that is destroying your life through looking at these little microcosms of your life without judgment, and then transforming your thoughts, understanding that the feelings that you feel the most are feelings that you've become addicted to, that your body is drawing you back to over and over again, and causing you to repeat the life that you just had yesterday over and over and over again. This book is a tactical guide to literally change in every single way the way that you operate in your life to create the life that you actually want. I talk about the power move of making a decision. I talk about incremental change, that small is the new big. Everything you do today, these tiny little changes, has the power to compound and change your whole life. So without any further ado, I'm just chatting up my book. And believe me, I have not promoted my book at all because I'm a little shy to do it. But I've decided, you know what? It's not fair for me to have all these years of experience, write it down, have all these years of different kinds of really trauma and tragedy happen in my life, and have had to climb my way out of each hole and figure it out, and then be able to share that and not give it to you. To me, it's ridiculous. So, and I'm not making any money on it. So I'm throwing it out there. I'm asking you to subscribe to my YouTube channel, like, follow, share my shit. If you think it's going to help someone, I know it will. I know that it'll change lives, and I know it'll change relationships. And I think it'll save quite a few marriages if you share it with people. Have a beautiful, blessed day. And I will talk to you soon. We're going to do the next 3 relationship killers. Love you so much. Bye.